It's over! It's over!
Chiefs fans, this is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
The Chiefs have won! The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57!
If you want Chiefs, follow the leader. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Don't be tempted by lots of other ways you could begin to talk and think about the Kansas City Chiefs' victory today over the Minnesota Vikings. No, it wasn't all pretty. It certainly wasn't all perfect. It very rarely is in the National Football League. What happened today that is clearly, and at halftime, was clearly the story of the day is not anything from the quarterback, wide receivers, offensive line, defense, or special teams. Today, we saw Travis Kelce do something remarkable, and why would we be surprised? Welcome into the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. I am Joshua Brisco. Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass, and Covell Hudson producing the show as well. We'll take your calls, 913-381-810. Then we'll bring you the audio we get live from Minnesota. We'll hear from the head coach, quarterback, and a few other members of the Chiefs. Whoever that ends up being, we'll let you know when we know. And we'll talk to Matt Derrick later on. There's plenty to break down, but stop me if you've heard this before. What a weird game. In a lot of ways, the final score feels a little bit deceptive. One of those games, right, where, is the final score reflective of what the game actually was? Were the Chiefs actually in trouble? How good is this Vikings team? At 1-4, I still don't know. They don't have Justin Jefferson for a huge stretch of the game. And back to what to me is far and away and clearly the lead. The Chiefs looked like they had lost Travis Kelce. And I'm not even necessarily saying permanently or for the season, but I imagine you listening now, I imagine you and I went through some very similar arcs of grieving. I got to bargaining pretty quick. I got to acceptance pretty quick. But I never really thought he was going to end up on the field again after halftime. And I really didn't think that he was going to force his way on the field for the final snap of the game, which happened to be defensive. But that's what Travis Kelce did. The way that entire play went down, the frustration that he had, I think, with having slipped and felt something go bad, trying to get the ball, trying to get back up and pick up the first down that he fell short of, literally in this case. Jogging off the field, trying to run up and down the sidelines, walking under his own power to the locker room. At this point, I don't think I have the right to be surprised by any of those things. Because all of those things are, by and large, in the character of who we know Travis Kelce to be. But the fact that he was back in the football game after I had just accepted what to me was the best case scenario, that's too bad. It looks like Travis Kelce has some sort of foot thing, ankle thing. Maybe we'll see him again by Miami. Because it's a short week for the Chiefs this week. Thursday night football against the Broncos. So we'll be doing another one of these post-game shows for you 4 days later. But I was already thinking, all right, so, he's not going to be there for the Broncos on a short turnaround. He doesn't need to be out there today. I had a little bit of time briefly in there of, okay, well, let's do the thing that we're all doing in a worst-case scenario, right? What does this offense look like without Travis Kelce for the long haul? I had the thought of, I don't love the way this offense looks with Travis Kelce right now. I am really, really, really not excited about this offense without him. And the second half comes around, and he's on the sideline in uniform. And then he's on the sideline in uniform with his helmet on. And then the broadcast shows him multiple times try to sneak his way onto the field, hoping that Andy Reid or tight ends coach Tom Melvin, who I saw call him back at least one of those times, hoping that they just would think, oh, that's Travis Kelce running onto the field. That's a normal thing that we do around here. Nothing is weird about that. Go get him, Kels. But he got wrangled back in, still on the sidelines. That alone was obviously, the fact that he was on the sideline with his helmet in full pads, that alone was a weight off my shoulders. And I have to assume I'm not alone in Kansas City and far beyond. Trying to run onto the field was like silly, but I was like, okay, so this is now where we're at, where this is similar to Mahomes in the playoffs. This is let me back out there, man. I know I can go. No, I'm not 100%, but let me back out there. And then the coaches would have to say, all right, no, listen, Travis, you're an adult, but we got to be the adults right now. You're an adult, but we got to take care of your future. You're in your 30s, and we want to make sure you can play well into them. And then he was out there. Then Travis Kelce was back on the football field. Not as a decoy, but as the one part of this offense that just seems to work all the time. And the one part of this offense that Patrick Mahomes would trust with his life, even with both of them on at most one healthy leg. But I'm not even sure I just told you the exact truth, because I said Travis Kelce was out there not as a decoy. Now that is still true to me. I do still, obviously he was a really involved part of the offense as soon as he got back, which scared me. But I use the word decoy on purpose because I got to back it up to the touchdown drive. And I am taking notes throughout the game, and I've got everything kind of labeled by, this drive by the offense, this drive by the defense, just to try to keep it together, and then to try to make sure I've got the right drives as I'm scanning through. I'll do little subheadings for some of the little titles, like a chapter. Like if each offensive and defensive drive is a chapter of a book, I'm writing the chapter titles just for my own kind of note keeping. What I have here is offense 6 - all caps, Travis Kelce, holy bleep. Because what else could you possibly say other than Travis Kelce, holy bleep? It's unbelievable. He comes back into the game. Mahomes goes to him on 3rd and 7. And he goes up and over 44 for the Vikings. And I thought it was going to be a pick. I thought if anybody came down with that ball, it might have been a Viking. Kelce goes up and over, makes that catch, brings it down, doesn't quite David Tyree it, doesn't quite pin it on his helmet, but look like it was going that way. He catches it and then kind of re-secures it, all with no help of his body, just hands with the defender literally between you and the football. Travis Kelce holds on, absolutely unquestioned here, holds on, brings it in, completes the catch, hits the ground, still has the ball. It's a completed catch. Defense rips it out. It's a little brouhaha. The Vikings challenge and lose, by the way. Kevin O'Connell had some fair gripes and some, I think, unfair gripes. Plenty of self-inflicted wounds by the Vikings. A very common thing for us to see and talk about here, but a very common, a very upsetting series of events for Vikings fans, I think, with some of the places where their team had to use timeouts and then really could have used them at the end. That's why you try to keep those things. But Kevin O'Connell challenges the completion. The Chiefs continue to hum. 2nd and 9. I'm not going to just go play by play, just this drive. Stick with me. 2nd and 9, there's one wide receiver on the field. I think it might have been MVS on the bottom of the screen, but don't quote me on that. One wide receiver on the field. Patrick Mahomes goes to his actual number one wide receiver, even though he's technically a tight end, Travis Kelce. Little option route, inside, outside. He goes outside. He gets 8, still hobbling. Mahomes gets grabbed around the feet on that rep. Mahomes also, we shouldn't forget, has just been hobbling since January 2020 or late 2019, maybe. The Chiefs go out there on 4th and 1 and end up converting there after Pacheco can't get there, but that's after the Kelsey completion. And it's the defensive pass interference, gives the Chiefs 31-yard penalty. That bomb to MVS. It was underthrown, but Smith did not play the football at all. That's just getting called every time. Sorry, I don't like it either. I don't like talking about the refs any more than you like listening to me talk about the refs. I choose not to most of the time. Whatever, that's that play. Then it's 1st and 25 because of a crackback block called on Kelsey. He didn't get a whole lot of meat on that block anyway, but crackback on Kelsey, 1st and 25. They get to 3rd and 8 after just a wonderful rep by Isaiah Pacheco, which is the thing I'm very comfortable saying very frequently now. 3rd and 8. It's unhinged. This is where the word decoy comes back in again. I don't know if it was supposed to be a screen to Travis Kelce or if it was supposed to look like a screen to Travis Kelce. I have not gotten to watch the replay nearly as often as I'd like to. I cannot wait for the All-22. I can't wait just to see a different end zone angle, whatever. We'll figure that out. I'm guessing it will be evident what the plan of that play was when we can see all the moving parts at once. But whatever it wasn't supposed to be the thing that they made out of it. There's just no way. Kelsey's over, waiting for the screen, hands so big, so open that it looked like it might have been to try to draw the attention of the defense to then let somebody else get open in the end zone. But nobody else got open in the end zone. Mahomes didn't throw it to Kelsey there. And so he just sort of takes off. Mahomes is climbing the pocket. Kelsey's working left to right, kind of slanting down the field. Mahomes finds him on 3rd and 8 in the red zone. 1st down. 2 plays later, Mahomes, Kelsey. You've seen that before. You know how it ends. 6 points. This is the first drive back on the field after the previous drive he spent trying to sneak his way onto the field. And before the half, I think most people had to take the moment of, did I just watch Travis Kelce play the last snap as mainly healthy Travis Kelce? Did I just watch Travis Kelce play his last snap as peak Travis Kelce? Did I just watch Travis Kelce play his last snap? Not that a season-ending injury would necessarily be a career-ending injury for Travis Kelce, but he's talked about playing until the wheels fall off. And I imagine that when an Achilles goes, feels like blowing a tire. That's kind of one of the wheels telling you, hey, we're falling off over here. I went through all of that pretty quickly. And then after seeing the replay and it didn't look like a knee and the way he left the field, I was going through a lot of emotions very quickly. I imagine you probably were too. But his answer to that, it's ungifable. You'll see the Undertaker gif sitting up out of the coffin. You'll see all of Steven tweeted out, Willy Wonka kind of limping up with the cane and then somersaulting in the big introductory shot as Willy Wonka. Perfect. There will be like 100 gifts that could apply, and they will all be insufficient. Because Travis Kelce's been the best tight end in the National Football League for a while now. He's been the greatest tight end in the history of the National Football League for a while now. But what we saw from Travis Kelce today is not something I ever expected to see, wanted to see, or care to see again. But I had no expectations that he would come back in this game. I was conceding the Broncos game on Thursday night. And if you were willing to be an optimist, maybe you see him work back up the speed after that. And look, adrenaline, the game going on as it all goes, will he be limited in practice this week? I have no idea. We'll figure it out. But what he did today after I expected not to see him anymore, and for the positives that did come from some other places, and I hope people want to share that. Again, we'll start taking calls here in just a second. There were some good things here on both sides of the ball from the Chiefs. But nothing, and not even Patrick Mahomes having some moments of looking like Patrick Mahomes again, and also having some moments of some underthrown deep balls, kind of concerning elements there. Nothing can or should overshadow what Travis Kelce did today and what he does pretty much all the time. We'll take some calls, try to work through the phones here as we can, and we'll open it up with Gary. Gary, first up, first on. How you feeling, sir?
Well, I'm pulling my hair out again this week. Just happy with the win. You never argue with the win at this level as long as you get that number that goes in the left-hand column. But, this offense is getting hard to watch sometimes. You get one good series a game, it seems like, from this team, and it was this drive coming out of halftime. I don't know if it's because that drive was scripted or what, but, it's just getting nerve-wracking watching this offense. And, people will be like, it's time for a receiver to step up. We're at the point in the season where you're either, it's like in baseball, you are what you are at Memorial Day. If you are what you are, you're going to be that the rest of the year. And we've turned the quarter pole here in the NFL season, and I think we are what we are the rest of the year. And I don't see anybody taking that much of a leap with this offense to get any better. Defensively, I think they're starting to show some cracks. Furious George was a no-show again today. Was he even on the field? I don't even remember seeing him. I think Uzama had more pressures than he did today, and his was late in the game when it was noticeable. But I don't know why everybody gets excited about Furious George. The pressures are nice, but you got to put the guy on his back, and if you're not doing it, you're not going to get paid. I didn't think that the pass rush was great throughout the game. It was there when they needed it at the end. Thank you, Michael Dana, who better get a contract extension here. And I don't know, I'm just pulling my hair out, and you got a short week, and Russell Wilson's coming to town, and he seems to love Spagnuolo defenses, and we know why. But everybody talks about, could you answer this question for me? Everybody talks about how it's tough to learn this Spagnuolo defense. How come OCs and quarterbacks don't have a hard time figuring it out? I'll hang up and listen. Great show, Josh.
Gary, I appreciate you. I think to that last question, it's just a matter of the chess match of offenses and defenses and having an answer for the rules that you're going to, or I guess having an answer and a rule for the different looks that you're going to get. Frankly, and look, Justin Jefferson not being out there is one thing, but 20 points against the Vikings is nothing to be ashamed of in my book. I am not on the train of this is a smoke and mirrors defense, although there were plenty of instances of them bending and not breaking, which is not the phrase you want to hear. I get you there. The place, Gary, defensively that I do think you're onto something is, look, there's plenty of value in guys getting pressures. You do need someone who can actually land the sack. There were a couple of times when Karlaftis was in good position and then didn't quite have the bend to finish off the play, which is exactly the scouting report. It's the thing you're trying to keep in mind for him in the long haul. But the fair criticism of the defense right now, and I do have an answer for this on this one as well that I hope makes you happy. The issue with the defense, the question with the defense right now is, can they get pressure with 4 on any sort of consistent basis? Not every down, but like consistent to a good pass rush in the NFL, or do they need to bring other help? Right now, I am also underwhelmed by the 4-man pass rush the Chiefs have been trotting out there for the most part, which makes me very, very excited that the Chiefs are one game closer to getting Charles Omenihu back. Because this is Seth Kaiser's take. We did a big film review on him when they signed Omenihu. But Omenihu is the second best pass rusher on this defense immediately and the second best interior pass rusher, according to Seth, if I'm not misrepresenting him there. And certainly that some of his best work comes from the interior. You get a young Karlaftis on the edge, a young Felix, and rotating through Dana at inside-outside with Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu. That's a unit that I want to see. Similarly with the receivers, I'm not out on there not being development because I'm still in on Rashee Rice. I do think there are questions about the receiving group as a whole that I imagine other people also would like to talk about. So next up, we'll go to George. George, you're on Sports Radio 810. How you feeling, George?
Doing well, though I'm a bit rushed. I have some pressing business on the West Coast here in a minute.
Okay, very good. That game will be fun. You'll enjoy it. I'll let you get away to it. Wait.
I will be pulling my hair out at the way the Cowboys have been playing. Which brings me to 27 points isn't going to win very many games anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is just not. Now, unfortunately, the Chiefs have given us gravy for the past several years.
Mm-hmm.
27 points is not gravy. It'll do against a team or two. Or, we can't expect the Giants every week either.
Right.
Okay? Which brings me to Miami won again today.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned Omenihu and Chris Jones.
Yep.
Are they both going to be ready by the Miami game in Germany?
I certainly hope so. And also, George, I say this from a friendly perspective. Good luck tonight, not necessarily a rooting interest perspective. It's complicated. You get it.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, George. So here's on both of those things, both on the pass rush. So Minu's suspension is 6 games, so he'll be out through the Broncos game, can return for the Chargers game, and then has that and the Broncos to get up to speed for Miami. That should be good. He's tweeting through the games, which has been kind of fun, and certainly I hope he's physically ready for that. The offense, though, here's the thing. I don't disagree with anything you said, George. And 27 points is the highest scoring game this offense has had this side of the Chicago Bears secondary. Not high praise, but I don't know how to feel about that. Because I think you're right. I said, hey, you know what? The Chiefs are finally going to break 30 against a team not named Chicago, and they didn't do it. They did not do it here. They obviously were right there on the edge, literally, against New York. But I don't want to get too deep down the rabbit hole of what a slide short of the end zone or what a near miss here or there actually means. I think that not hitting 30 points this side of Chicago yet, again, slid touchdown notwithstanding, I do think that is actually reflective of the question, which is how good and how high octane can this offense actually be? And I don't know the answer right now. Maybe Crush has the answer for us. Crush, you're on Sports Radio 810 WHB. How you feeling, Crush?
Loved your opening super duper manly game by Kelsey today. Man, it's an all-pro type of game, not a Pro Bowl, but all-pro. And he's an all-pro, but if he wasn't, this is the type of game. 10 catches on a day, we're talking about an injury, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tony, good job, had some key catches there. I don't know that I like him in the Wildcat. I'd rather have Pacheco back there, but coach is just trying to figure some stuff out. Let me switch to the defense. I got some names for you here. Tranquil, Sneed, and McDuffie. They got physical today, and that's what we needed. Let me switch over to this. The upcoming schedule. It's time to get into the division for the next 3 weeks, And then what I think is just working out perfect. The bye week is in between Miami and Philadelphia. That's perfect, man. You guys keep up the good work.
Crush, I appreciate it. Good stuff there, man. Rat-a-tat-tat, and I'm with you across the board. Absolute all-pro man game from Travis Kelce. I think it's both an all-pro game and an all-pro man game. I think he's now an all-pro of manliness. Not that was ever in question. Dude's just unbelievable, truly. Good call on Kadarius Toney. I was hoping to see that prophecy be fulfilled of seeing him get a little more work today. He did. It wasn't all pretty. The Wildcat is a question. I will say that him running a speed option kind of thing is kind of exciting, but he could do that from behind Pacheco. I think I'm with you on that. I think I'd rather see Pacheco run that a little more. But it was nice to see Toney get involved. I don't know if the wide receiver 1 dream is ever going to come true for him, but he also, another thing from Toney, had a big catch, was on the sidelines in pain, popped up, returned to the game again. Another just toughness update there on Kadarius Toney, probably playing through a little bit of a tweak of some sort. That's good to see. Like him in the offense. We'll talk more about Rashee Rice later on as well as another little star for me. But also, yes, Tranquil, Sneed, McDuffie, those dudes were going after the quarterback. They were taking big hits, delivering big hits. It wasn't a perfect game for Sneed. He was around a lot of action. McDuffie, he had the penalty early on, I guess, but man, he is so good. Really, I think this defense has a lot of nice pieces that I am happy with, but also, and I should have mentioned this, to Gary's concerns as well, it was rough when you saw Jalen Watson getting targeted today. He was around quite a bit of completed Vikings footballs. He's your 4th corner. What that generally means is that I don't want to speak so confidently to to how Kirk Cousins is reading the field, but to me it seems like they're looking at Trent McDuffie and saying, I'd rather not throw to number 22's direction. So let's move on. Oh man, I'd rather not throw at L'Jarius Sneed. All right, so Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, who are we going to get a shot at? I don't know what their snap count split was. I desperately wish we could watch every game with the All-22 Prime Vision, but without that, we'll have to wait and see what the snap counts end up being. But really, I do think that McDuffie and Snead, for as long as they were around the football, for as much as the Vikings threw the ball, and Tranquil certainly as well now, another game without Nick Bolton, and I do not think you noticed defensively. They were not getting crushed up the middle or anything of the sort. I'm really happy with the way Drew Tranquil's played all across the defense. Next up here, we got Butch. Butch, you're on Sports Radio 810. Butch, tell me about him.
But gentlemen, how about those Chiefs?
How about him, Butch?
Listen, let me do this first. Let me show a little bit of respect to that other side. Kirk Cousins continues to play at this level, slightly below elite and a little bit above starting quality. Mm-hmm. And you saw it again there. So I gotta give Kirk his thing. He was threatening those end breakers, man. That was really impressive. So what comes out of a game like this beyond just the win, right?
Yeah.
Here's a few things that I think that I enjoyed that made this the most satisfying win of the season thus far. The first thing is that the Chiefs' offense, though off balance at times, what they are able to do is figure out what side of the passing formation we want to go to, especially in the short passing game, to be able to get us a couple of quick completions. And that's really what you want on a week-to-week basis. That's what's going to keep you ahead of the chains. So it's a step in a positive direction with multiple different receivers. I also like that they got Justin Ross involved. Guys, Justin Ross catches a couple more balls, and all of a sudden we're not talking about whether or not the offense would have put up 30. They would have put up 30. One of the drives ended when he dropped the 8-yard hitch route.
I think he had 2 drops, too.
2 bad drops. That's okay. He's getting his legs back onto him. I don't think that'll happen in the future. The other thing that I like you mentioned, Charles Omenihu is not in this defense. Look, this would have been the perfect game for him because that's the best that interior offensive line for Minnesota has looked all year. Beyond that this was their best game of the year. And you know what that is? That's teams getting up for you. You're the hunted. Yep. You're the champs. Teams are going to have an artificial boost in the way that they play when they go up against you guys. You know what they do? They sit in the meetings every day. Hey, everybody shut up. Everybody pay attention. We got the Chiefs this week. Everybody run a couple extra gestures. We got the Chiefs this week. That's what you just saw right there on the road against a well-coached Minnesota team. That is not a team that's devoid of talent. So I think when we take away from this game, you're going to see all the clips on Twitter and YouTube and all this about how Mahomes probably should have read the backside of the formation first instead of the front side. And then when Travis Kelce was out, he looked all right, but it was because he was scrambling around in the offense. But that's okay. What you are going to take away from this game is that the Chiefs now are probably the grittiest, the toughest team in this league beyond the Detroit Lions, in that they truly have found ways to be almost like Teflon. They're worn Teflon right now. Nothing phases them. Players get hurt. Their quarterback symbiotic with the tight end insofar as not just catching and throwing a football, but also with injuries. And they come out winning against a team who probably should have been in the playoffs this year. Enjoy that. Teflon tough is what they are. Savor that.
Butch, appreciate it as always, my friend. Teflon Butch, heat every week. We got to take a timeout. We got a full phone board. We'll get through more of those. We'll also bring you audio from Minnesota. But it's time for a timeout here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
Kelsey's coming in to defend. Cousins rolling out. He's not going to get a chance. Tana ends it. Mike Tana swarms, sacks, and finalizes the game. A Chiefs victory, 27-20.
A sweet ending to a bit of a sour game, but Mike Dana gets it done at the end. That's our play of the game, brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. At Central Bank of the Midwest, every customer is a first-round draft pick. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities, member FDIC. We'll take you out to Minnesota and hear from them momentarily. I did see this tweet from the aforementioned Seth Kaiser, who you may know as a Minnesotan who covers the Chiefs from up there in the Great White North. He went to the game today and did tweet, Vikings fans are irate, but Snead doesn't have a duty to get out of the way if a receiver tries to run through him. I will be saying that to absolutely no one here. It should have been a penalty after he took his helmet off. That should have been a 15-yard personal foul, but the ref went over to de-escalate instead, told him to put it back on, and he did. If they would have thrown the flag, it still would have been the Chiefs' ball at that point. Just would have been the penalty after the fact because it happened between downs. I don't know what to tell you. If you would rather talk about the referees than Travis Kelce, you don't know ball. There's my take. I'm sticking to it. Like this, it was a ref show. Like there was so much of today. It was a total ref show. They were all over the place the whole time. Please, 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 just everyone, no one in particular, but everyone, just have a bigger brain than a goldfish. Remember the things that happen over the course of an entire game, and then don't throw an incredible game of football and an incredible Travis Kelce performance in the garbage because you are unhappy with the way that the end of a game got refereed yet again. I don't know. I just don't know what else to tell you about that. If you want to change the underthrown incompletion PI thing, we can have that discussion. I'd be happy to try to figure that out. The ball that Kirk Cousins threw was like letter of the law uncatchable. I don't know that L'Jarius Sneed knew the ball was coming his direction because I don't think the receiver ever showed an attempt to catch the football because it was 5 yards the other side of the end zone, and that is not where the momentum of that play was going. Whatever. It sounds like we will hear from L'Jarius Sneed in a little bit, so that'll be good. But we'll hear his side of all of that, and of course, just the assignment that for him was traveling with Justin Jefferson until Justin Jefferson left the game, and then after that, the Vikings offense still had plenty to be salty about. But we'll hop into the phones here for now. We'll hear from Sneed, Mahomes, Reid, and maybe somebody else coming up here from Minnesota. But we go now to Kyle on the phones. Kyle, appreciate you holding, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, Josh, thank you for having my call. And, man, I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I hope you and your wife had a wonderful, good weekend.
We have. Thank you very much.
Enjoy it. Hey, a few points I want to make. First point is, yes, the Travis Kelce. When he went down, Josh, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I thought, oh, no.
Yeah.
Like, he tore, like, when you go down without no contact, usually it's a cramp. But I'm thinking, oh, no, did he re-injure that leg even more like an ACL? But I was glad that he came back in. And, by the way, he's on my fantasy, and he got me 22 points tonight. So I'm pretty happy, Josh, about that. I'm pretty darn happy about him coming back in there because he saved my day in fantasy. That's my first point. Second point I want to make is the defense. I thought they played a heck of a game with Kirk Cousins being a good quarterback. And, yes, I mean, the Vikings are 1-3, but you have to realize who's quarterbacking and who their offense is. We played a good team, Josh, and people got to remember that this team is they're a very tough 1-3 and 1-4 team. You can't take the Vikings lightly. They're one of those dangerous teams that I think they can come back and make it to the playoffs. I really do, because of who their quarterback is. And he's a very good quarterback, and we saw that today. And I thought our defense made plays when we needed to. So I want to give props to our defense because I thought they played their butts off tonight or today. George Karlaftis and the defensive line getting pressure. You don't always have to sack the quarterback, Josh. Mm-hmm. When you put pressure on the quarterback, it causes him to throw mistakes, and that's what he did. He made some incomplete passes. So I got to give credit to the defensive line today. That's my second point. Third point is the wide receivers. I understand that Mahomes took a couple sacks, and it looked like he had time, but there was nobody to throw to. But here's the thing, though, Josh. We're sitting here at 4-1, and we're leading the division. And we got and I think we still have the number 1 seed. I could still be wrong.
Yep.
But man, Josh, what a day! I think we're just spoiled, Josh. I really do. I mean, I love this team so much, and this team is just amazing. I know we have problems at wide receiver and everything, but with Patrick Mahomes, Josh, we're going to be contenders. We're going to the playoffs. We're just playoff contenders, Josh. I'll listen off the air, but I'll listen. But thank you so much for taking my call, Josh.
Kyle, always happy to do it, sir. Appreciate you listening and calling in. So first and foremost, yes, the Chiefs are currently alone. I mean, not alone. They have the tiebreaker for the number 1 seed in the AFC because their only loss is to an NFC team. And the Dolphins lost to the Bills last week, so a divisional game, an AFC game. So the Chiefs have the tiebreaker over Miami. And crazy thing I did not expect at all whatsoever. We're 5 weeks into this football season. Some teams have had byes already. There are 2 teams with 1 loss in the AFC and 0 with 0. The Chiefs and the Dolphins are 4-1. And I don't know how deep the tiebreakers go here on like the ESPN NFL standings, but it's jarring nonetheless to see the next teams on this list. Here's how it reads right now. Chiefs 4-1, Dolphins 4-1, Pittsburgh Steelers 3-2, Jacksonville Jaguars 3-2, Indianapolis Colts 3-2, Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills both also 3-2. Browns, Chargers, Texans, Titans, Jets, Bengals all have 2 wins on the year. Some of those teams were on a bye. Cleveland and LA, so they have better win percentages technically. But we're 5 games into the NFL season, and I think there are only 3 teams who are like dead in the water, playoff-wise. Denver, New England, Las Vegas. They're the 1-win teams. It's a long climb for Cincinnati, but if Joe Burrow magically gets healthy at any point, that math changes because he is still good. The Jets and the Titans and the Texans all at 2 and 3. Outside shots, right? But like, there's something to play for. There's some sparks from each of those teams. Although the Jets just beat the Broncos today. Not exactly the proudest win to get. Who do the Broncos have next? By any chance, a short week back on Prime, where their season was fully flayed on national streaming for all to see and suffer through last year in one of the most painful games I've ever watched. Dylan was there with me. We were in the trenches together for Broncos Colts. I will never remember a real detail about that game, but I will never forget how it made me feel. It made me feel bad. Broncos get the Chiefs on Prime on Thursday. We will get to watch that win on the All 22. And Dylan, I will tell you, I might bring a monitor in for next week because I might need to just give us like a big screen view of the All 22 Prime Vision. That's gonna. If you don't like this post-game show right now, just wait till Thursday. We might actually do a good one then. I have heard rumors and reports that Chris Jones is supposed to be at the podium at some point. I've also been told, Dylan, just for your information, that I wouldn't hold my breath because that tends to be how the later post-games go. But the face looks right now. The CEO of Sack Nation, number 95, Chris Jones, live from Minnesota here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Okay. Travis Kelce. He played how Travis played. He battled through an injury. He was able to come back, show resilience. Glad that he was able to, come back on the field and join us. But he did what Travis does. Chris, did you notice in the last week the fans? The Chiefs fans. Yeah, one thing about Kansas City fans, I think they're some of the best in the world, especially in the game of football. And they travel well. Give us a lot of support. And we hear them screaming. We hear them doing, oh. So it feels amazing. And knowing that you have that much support in the house. We're still building, man. It's still early. Still building. Getting the chemistry along the D-line, still always a challenge. But most importantly, getting everyone going. Let's talk about your back with Jerry Stage. I played exceptional today. Hats off go to those guys. If we had a game ball today, I'll give it to the whole back end. They held their own, especially against a great wide receiver and a heck of a quarterback. So hats off to them.
Last two, go Nate. Chris, it seemed like today you guys blitzed quite a bit. I just wonder, what does it feel like to have that many blitz calls and that it works, and then to win the game at the end with the defense?
I'm not a DC. I'm just a part of 111, and whatever Spags come up with, he's been in this game a long time, had a lot of success within his defense. We trust, and we try to execute to our best ability.
What does it say when you guys win the game on defense?
I think it's a fair trade. We keep them under 20 points. Offense score more than 20 points, we win the game, and if that's the way it can go all season, then it's going to be a heck of a season. But I think we can be better on both sides of the ball, continue to challenge each other, and we'll see you guys Thursday.
Last one, Harold. Chris, overall, the defense with this game, especially the defensive line against Minnesota's offensive line, just that challenge and how you guys played that one out, it seemed like it was pretty tough until, of course,
it's always a challenge when you're going against a heck of a quarterback like Kirk Cousins. No matter how good or how exceptional well the offensive line play, when you have that smartness behind those guys, tends to get the ball out faster, tends to call play action passes, and force the D-line to kind of hold up on their pass rush. So I think they've done a tremendous job on adjusting to what we like to do best and getting the ball out early. So kudos to those guys. Thank you.
Here you go, a quick road game presser edition of Chris Jones speaking to the media. We'll bring you Snead, Mahomes, and Andy Reid coming up here in just a little bit. I will honestly evaluate that. There's not a ton to unpack there from Jones. I kind of joke that there are really two different versions of Chris Jones press conferences you can get, and this isn't even like an insult or anything. I think some of them are just after he's played a whole football game and is a tired man. And that's kind of what we got there tonight. But I know we'll get the energy back from the phones here. A couple quick calls, and then we'll take a break. But I know Dan will bring the energy. Dan, tell me how you're feeling, maybe in even more words and even higher energy than Chris Jones right there.
Hey, Josh, how you doing? I'm feeling great. And 10 seconds in the game, Josh Allen with the fumble, and the Chiefs capitalizing with the Pacheco run and the touchdown piece by Kelty. And I forgot who else scored a touchdown. I was looking box score. But it was a great job by the defense, doing the job. And I agree. I think Andy's on the first penalty, Josh. It didn't look like Snead didn't do too much. I don't blame Andy for getting upset over that one. And it's a great performance. So let's take care of the Broncos. And what do you think of the Jets? They showed the final minutes of the Jets-Broncos game. And I think Russell, fumbled. And they got into a little argument. And Tyreek today will try and get the ball to his mom, and the Dolphins fan said interfering and tried to intercept the trying to and it was a great performance. What do you think about the Cowboys 49ers? I'd like to see the Cowboys get over the hump tonight against the 49ers. Take care, Joshua.
Dan, I appreciate you, man. I think I can answer all those things backwards in backwards order. One being that we'll bring you at least the second half and hopefully a good chunk of the second half, maybe a little halftime. We'll see how the show goes of Niners Cowboys tonight here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're your home for the NFL. We got the primetime action just as soon as I stop blabbing. We'll bring you Cowboys Niners again, at least the second half of that tonight. Rashee Rice also with a touchdown. I did not see the end of what happened there in the Broncos-Jets game. I love the Red Zone channel. I love watching all the NFL day. But of course, when we're in like Chiefs game mode, I, much like most of you, I imagine, have to really narrow my focus. So I didn't see exactly how that went. I saw a tiny bit of that game ending as the show was starting here. I saw that there was a safety on Russell Wilson due to an illegal grounding penalty, which is hilarious. But the Broncos losing to the Jets is exactly what I thought was going to happen in that game. It is hilarious. And Dan, with your endorsement, I am very excited to go see what happened at the end. If Russ put the ball on the ground or whatever, total bleep show there. I did see the Dolphins fan intercept the football from Tyreek Hill to Tyreek Hill's mom. It looked like they got it sorted out after it all happened, but that was a really weird sequence and very funny also. Tyreek looks incredible still in Miami. Russell Wilson did not get fixed in Denver. Weird. Well, at least they've got a head coach and quarterback who both appear to not be terribly excited to be there or having a very good time or playing very good football. we'll continue to monitor that, if for nothing but entertainment purposes, because it's really entertaining. One more call before another timeout here. We'll let Rodney close out this segment here in the Sports Radio 810 WHB postgame show. Rodney, tell me how you're feeling.
Oh, I'm feeling absolutely great. Absolutely great. And I've got a good old message for Chiefs Kingdom.
Hit me.
In the words of Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Relax. The reason I say that is because name a year that Patrick Mahomes had a young wide receiver room. Last time I checked, he came in with behind Alex Smith, behind a well-established wide receiver room. Maybe not the top, but they was well-established. They understood what they had to do. Now he has a fresh, new wing that he has to groom together, that he has to build. Relax. Relax. We all know Andy Reid like the high plays. After Justin Ross caught that fade route and bossed the DB, he had a couple of drops. One of them, I count against him. The first one, he was bracing himself for the hit. Mm-hmm. I could tell he was bracing himself for the hit, took his eyes off the ball and hit him right in the gut. Wasn't prepared for it. Okay, touche. I give you that. The second one, he hurt himself on that. Okay. But the simple fact is they're learning. My main pressure is who's the highest paid wide receiver on our team.
Yeah.
That's who I'm going after. Because if anybody watched, there was only one guy when he was on the field, he was getting open, other than Travis Kelce. One wide receiver constantly getting open. That was Justin Ross. His route running was great. Andy Reid realized I cannot show too much of him. Because if anybody realized when he was out there one-on-one, Mahomes thought he was one-on-one with the corner until he saw that safety jet right over him. He was getting bracketed. So you rather leave Travis Kelce one-on-one with a linebacker or a safety, and you're going to bracket Ross? Andy Reid said, no, got to get him out. You're showing too much. Andy Reid likes to show things because this is way too early in the season. Mm-hmm. Nah, he's going to save him. That's why he started feeding Rashid Rice. Feed him. And Tony Romo said something that people, I think Chiefs Kingdom is not validating. We love Pop, but Tony Romo said it himself. The reason the Chiefs' offensive passing numbers is because they have an established run game. Tell me when the last time we had that when Patrick Mahomes was that quarterback. An established running game, wow. And then now we got to look at the defense. I thought Justin Jefferson was the number one wide receiver. This week they went up against Garrett Wilson. Justin Jefferson, come on, baby, let's take them gritty. Oh, you can't when you can't get the ball. He got locked down. They made Kirk Cousins go to somebody else to try to beat him, and he still kind of bit. He got to him, but it still hurt. 5 weeks, Chiefs Kingdom, no teams have not got over 21 points. No teams got 3 scores. 5 weeks now. Put that in perspective in this day and age of a defense. This is a dangerous team, and they just now getting started. Charles Minihute is coming back. Andy Reid is getting Justin Ross and Rashid Rice, that duo, to get acclimated. I feel like Andy Reid is starting to get comfortable. Maybe we can just walk on MVS next year, and we'll see where we're coming from. There's a ton of good wide receivers coming into the draft for the next 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can get younger and younger. This offense is complicated because it's all based off of options. People say, well, why is it taking so long? Let me see you try to teach a young wide receiver. You're not teaching him the offense. Travis Kelce said it all the time. We have to learn how to what? Read the defense. Read leverage. We ain't worried about the plays. We're worried about reading the defense because majority of the plays are option routes. They got to get open. So I'm going to just leave it right there and say, Chief Keenum, relax. Relax. They got this.
Good stuff, Rodney. I appreciate you because I have nothing to fight you on right now. A few things that you touched on there that I want to dig into a little bit. I can't get the phones to... Dylan, don't touch the phones. Stop touching the phones, Dylan. Let me touch the phones. Stop touching the phones. Dylan's hands are up. I feel like now it's a phone problem. Okay, we're done. I'm sorry for falsely accusing you of touching the phones. We're good, everybody. We got it figured out. Rodney, several things. One, this is Patrick Mahomes building a young receiver room for the first time, I think is a tremendous way of thinking about this and talking about this. It was new receivers and new weapons last year, but it wasn't a long-term answer. Juju was a one-year answer. MVS was a 1 or 2 year answer in all likelihood, and we'll kind of see where that goes. I want to come back to talk about MVS. I almost tweeted about him during the game and didn't, and I just think I know where we're at with him. But yes, relax is a great place to be. This is Mahomes building a young receiver room, I think is a great place to be. I think noting that nobody has gone over 21 points against this Chiefs defense is stupendous, and that 21 in week 1 was not actually 21. It was a Kadarius Toney pick six. It was a fake punt. Not that they've solved the fake punt game, apparently. Could mention that. But this defense has not given up more than I guess it would have been a real 20 against the Jets and Vikings. 20-point games for the Chiefs defense is going to work. Somebody said earlier, George said at the beginning, hey, 27 points isn't going to be enough. It's not going to be gravy, right? That's not the gravy we've gotten from the Chiefs offense over the last few years, and that's true too. But I'm going to blow your guys' mind with some real simple math. If you score 27 points every game and only give up 20, that will actually be enough. Now, look, I don't want to live that way either. I don't think the Chiefs ought to be hanging on every game, being on a 20-point defensive effort, because eventually someone's going to break them. I thought the Chiefs would break 30 today, and I thought the Vikings would break 21. I thought both of those streaks would end. Again, the Chiefs put up a 40-burger against the Bears, but that defense is in shambles. Although maybe the Bears are fixed now. Fun for them. Happy for them. But nobody's put up 3 touchdowns on the Chiefs. Not authentically. Again, not more than 3 touchdowns if you want to extend past the Lions, but one of those had nothing to do with the offense. With the defense, pardon me. This defense is still a real group. There's real heat here. And, to Rodney's point, there's still growth coming. I think both from the defense and certainly from these young receivers. I will add, though, in just my little drop of concern that has been rippling all offseason, frankly, rippled last year and ended up being okay. You're 100% right, Rodney, about what is it that makes this offense tough to learn. It's not that you can't memorize all the routes. And even the play calls, convoluted or whatever, but that's not really it. It's that you've got to be able to read and react to NFL defenses in real time and with the same answers that Mahomes and Andy Reid are seeing. There's a lot of moving parts there. That's a real challenge. I've never poo-pooed that. It's the reason I had lower expectations for Sky Moore last year and lower expectations for Rashee Rice this year. So I just need to make sure that those guys are getting enough reps in real time that this offense can keep its head above water, keep winning football games, and get those guys more comfortable in an NFL offense. To me, that's the biggest goal aside from winning games at this point is I want these receivers to not be question marks in December and January. And Lord willing, February. We'll see exactly where that ends up. We'll take a break. We'll come back and start bringing you some audio from Minnesota. I want to talk about a couple more of the receivers. I want to talk about MVS. I want to talk about Kadarius Toney. And I want to talk about what it took for the Chiefs to win this game on both sides of the ball. It was, yes, of course, a weird game. It always is. But it was a victory up north for the Chiefs, 27-20. I'm not sure it actually felt quite that close, but it was that close as the final seconds ultimately trickled down. A weird game, but a fun one. A Chiefs victory. We'll break it down more next in the Sports Radio 810 WHP Postgame Show.
3rd and 18. All the way up to the 35 is the first down yardage. McKinnon.
All the guys up here, Jim. You got to get this ball out.
Here comes Hunter. There's Mahomes. And Mahomes' pass is caught. Oh, what a catch by Watson. He leaped right over Bynum and took it away from him for 33 yards.
This is crazy. Both guys on the edge bearing down on you. Mahomes throws a dime, and Watson goes right up and kind of takes it away, but no one makes that throw.
It's the longest play of the game for either team.
Tony Romo notes that no one makes that throw because no one else is Magic Mahomes. It's a Magic Mahomes moment of the game brought to you by Champion Heating and Cooling. Keep your family warm this winter with our Champion Premium Furnace. Find your local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com. And don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising, championhomecomfort.com. It really was an unbelievable play from both sides. We can dig into the receivers a little more as we go throughout the show tonight and throughout the rest of the week across us here at Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk about him. We've talked about him plenty. But that play from Justin Watson was ridiculous. And that throw from Mahomes, under duress, pressure from both sides, delivers, guys, exactly where the football needed to be. And I don't think Justin Watson's feet ever actually left the ground. Once he was over there, it was just drag, catch, feet come up. But it wasn't like the try to land with your feet in bounds. It was dragging them to the sideline. Really incredible top to bottom and certainly fitting the description of magical. I'm interested to hear, actually. We'll go to Andy Reid here next. We'll bring you Patrick Mahomes and L'Jarius Sneed tonight as well. But interesting to hear what Andy Reid saw from this game altogether. It was that up and down. There were coaching decisions on both sides. You had a little bit of a question about how the game was being officiated on both sides. It's just a lot of flags, a lot of mess. I hope that the last 5 minutes isn't the only thing anyone remembers, but I always hope, and I'm always disappointed by that. And altogether, a tough win for the Chiefs, but they hold a good Vikings offense to just 20 points, even as both sides also dealt with their number one pass catchers, leaving the game with injury, but Travis Kelce came back in, and Justin Jefferson could not. And so you end with 27-20. The Chiefs win, and Andy Reid is once again victorious. Andy Reid's press conferences are brought to you by Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC and Olathe Kia. Get a worry-free money-back guarantee on new vehicles when you buy from Brogdon. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com. Head coach press conference also brought to you by Westlake Commercial, a division of Westlake Ace Hardware. They're your local business-to-business supply partner. Their commercial team, dedicated business-to-business website, credit terms, and convenience store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or westlakehardware.com/commercial today. We'll start from the top as we always do from Andy Reid. The opening statement, the injury update, certainly in this case involving Travis Kelce, and then maybe the time will be ours.
All right. Just a couple of injuries here. Travis hurt his ankle, came back in and finished. Drew Tranquil likewise hurt his knee, finished. And Mike Dana hurt his ribs that last series, but ended up having a sack on the last play. I mean, that's kind of the epitome of what went on tonight or this afternoon here. The guys, they really played hard and aggressive as a team. I mean, there were some great individual efforts, but I thought overall, just what a tremendous job. It was great to see our fans here. A lot of red in the lower bowl there, and we felt you. So, Pat, it was 30 for 40 for 278 yards. Good day there. Kels that was the 10 for 57 there, and kind of was out for a bit and sucked it up and came back. Both Watsons had big plays. What can you say about Sneed? I mean, Sneed, this is the best receiver in the National Football League, or at least one of them, and arguably the best. And, he went toe-to-toe with them and tonight. So it was a great job. And then Justin Reid starting it off with a big hit and the fumble at the beginning. So it was a good all-around game. Special teams were solid. Williams had a couple of nice returns. So just all the way around, it was good.
Yeah, it really does fit. I mean, this is a little bit of a coaching cliche, I guess, of like a team win. But when you have a superstar performance from Travis Kelce, some superstar performances, plural, really, on the defensive side, as he mentioned there, with L'Jarius Sneed following and shutting down Justin Jefferson until he just wasn't in the game anymore. And then the Vikings offense still had some success, but really some excellent individual performances leading to an incredible team win. Next here from Andy Reid, talking about the Travis Kelce injury and the process he went through there.
Yeah, well, he was hurt. He'll be a little sore, but he's a pretty tough kid, so... I wasn't sure where we were going at halftime with it, but he loves to play, the kid.
What's it do for you guys to have emotionally to have that? I mean, I succeeding without him, but have him come back out.
Yeah, no, it was great. Listen, Kevin does a heck of a job here and with this football team, and we knew it was going to be a knockdown dragout. I mean, they haven't lost a game here for less than one score, so I mean, it's ridiculous, or for more than one score. So it's ridiculous. They're tough, and he'll get it going. They're right there. So.
Can you take us through that sequence from your standpoint when Travis goes out of the game and then there's halftime? Were you clear that he was coming back?
No, I wasn't clear until he came out and told me. So you guys probably saw that. But he said, "Just give me a minute. I'm gonna get this thing right." So he did a bunch of drills on his own there, just working with it. Our training staff was working with him during halftime, and Rick does a great job. He's very amazing. So.
Andy, how vital was the third and 18 play, your first drive of the second half, that got sacked?
Yeah, to Watson, yeah.
What did you see?
Well, he did a great job. They blitzed, zero blitz, and Pat put it up, and Watson went up and made a phenomenal play. I mean, great play. I thought our receivers as a group did a nice job. The young guys stepped up, had some good plays, had a couple drops in there. We'll work on that, but they're growing, and I thought they were very respectable tonight.
Very respectable tonight. It's kind of interesting. We spent a lot of time these last couple of weeks, really this whole season, I guess. These last 4 or 5 weeks of the football season. Oh, the whole year? Yeah. We spent a lot of time talking about the young receivers, and I thought it was really interesting on Thursday in Matt Nagy's press conference, when he was asked something like, are you getting what you need from the receivers? Do you know who they are or whatever? And Nagy kind of went on a little bit of not a tangent, but just answered the question in full of no, we're still kind of learning who these guys are, what they do well, what they don't, and kind of giving them what they can work on to figure out what they're good at and what they need to improve on. Some of it specifically was with Justin Ross, who did get involved today, as I talked about earlier. An incredible catch, good to see him in the offense, and a couple of bad drops. That's all right. I really, like Andy Reid said there, I'm good with it because they are young, like we were talking about just a little bit ago. But what Andy Reid said in week 1 or 2 was something along the lines of hey, are you still learning who your receivers are? And no, I think we pretty much know who we got. That was look, these are Reid and Nagy both coaching and coach speaking in different ways, so you take it with a grain of salt. But what Andy Reid said was way scarier than what Matt Nagy said. Andy Reid made it sound, and again, you're trying to give your guys confidence and give a good sort of political answer at the podium. There's nothing wrong with that. I get it. But that message was no, we know what we have, and also I think kind of implies these guys are done growing. Maybe that's the part of it that was concerning at the time was, no, we know what we have because we know who they are, which implicitly means they're done evolving. And I never actually believed that to be true, but I think that's kind of maybe the unkind underlying message there. Again, I don't think it's what Reid meant, and it's certainly not what we've seen, but I am more than happy to hear Matt Nagy say, yeah, we're still learning about these guys because they're still learning about themselves. Andy Reid says, look, a couple of drops, but they're young guys, and he's talked about them being young many times over. I'm kind of nitpicking something from early in the season because what Nagy said on Thursday was so counter to that. I just think it was an interesting comparison point. But feeling like the receivers as a group there stepped up and that you did see growth from them is completely okay with me. Again, like we were just talking back to Rodney's call. A young group that's learning and working together that Mahomes is building in the way that he wants it to work. There are going to be growing pains. Growing pains do not bother me. Stagnation concerns me. Lack of production concerns me. And I think there is still some room to be grown from this group still. I've also said this on The Zone last week. Like, I'm not out on Sky Moore, but I do think Rashee Rice is clearly ahead of him. But that doesn't mean that Sky Moore is done developing. They're like 6 months apart in age. They're both born in the year 2000. Who cares when Rice and Moore were drafted, respectively? Second-round picks, right now Rice is ahead. Okay. Well, this isn't year 4 for Sky Moore. We're not trying to figure out if he's ever going to learn how to read a defense. Quarter of the way through year 2, there's still plenty of room for growth and evolution there from these guys. And I think the Chiefs are still, honestly, banking on it. So I think that's interesting. Though everything that he said there about the Kelce sequence is fascinating, but I talked about Travis Kelce as much as I needed to at the beginning, although I will continue to talk about Travis Kelce because you can't stop me. But one of those young receivers who did have a real nice game and scored, Rashee Rice, getting into the end zone. Again, really, he seems to me like the guy that I'd be willing to put a couple of chips down on in his upcoming continual development. But before Reid goes back to talk about Chiefs fans and L'Jarius Sneed, first, it's about Rashee Rice.
Tremendous job. 2 of them. He had two catches, big third down. So, I mean, he really did a nice job.
Andy, you talked about the job Sneed did. Walk us through the 4th and 11, what you saw from him in that last play when they threw the flag originally.
Yeah, so he was just running with him. I mean, he wasn't grabbing him or pushing him or anything. That's how they were just running down the field. So, and then the ball was, obviously it wasn't catchable. So, but he did a nice job. I thought shadowing him. I thought it was a good call. I mean, I think picking the flag up was probably the right thing to do. They communicated, which that's all you ask for. I mean, there was one guy. They're human beings, so they're working on it there. Fans were incredible. When you come out and you see all that red, I mean, that's impressive. Especially when you have the purple. I mean, it's purple here. It's a lot of purple. And so, but to put the red in there, I mean, that was a great thing.
The Andy Reid takes on the flag being picked up, the non-call that Vikings fans are very upset about being a non-call, and that I'm sure lots of people on Twitter will be very upset about. Andy Reid described it so appropriately, dismissively, that I would like to just adopt that tone. He had to change his phrasing as to not sound disrespectful. He was just jogging with him, running with him. He was just running with him. There was no pushing and shoving. He was just shadowing him, running with him, and the ball was obviously uncatchable. And look, I mean, Andy Reid's on the right side of the call there. He's also on the right side of the right call. You know what? No. I just said we're changing our tone together. Andy Reid dismisses it, says it's a good call, explains why. I don't need to get upset even about people getting upset about it. We call this personal growth. Here from Andy Reid, he talks about he'll get to the fake punt and what Travis Kelce said, getting his way back out onto the field, which we heard him talk about a little bit before. But first, kind of interesting, as the Chiefs did, I don't know that it's going to happen very much this year. One time later this year, they'll go at Vegas to at Green Bay. But this is the only other time this season the Chiefs will have played back-to-back road games, going to New York and then to Minnesota, while Beyonce took over Arrowhead and the field is getting reworked for all of that. I think Beyonce had to move things, so I don't think that's why it's not why the schedule is this way, but a fun little twist of it all. But Andy Reid was asked about winning these back-to-back games on the road.
Yeah, they're a tough bunch. I appreciate that too. I mean, they work hard every day. They work hard, and we're working on getting better. And this was a team that we really respected and what they've done. So we knew it wasn't going to be an easy battle.
Let's go at them and divide. What was Travis's message to you when he was out? Coming back?
He said, "Just give me a minute. Let me see what I can do here."
Did you say that at the start of the third quarter?
Yeah.
That's why you didn't put it on that drive.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You went back in, and what started to look like you're pulling back.
We were rotating him in and out. Yeah, just trying to make sure he was good. You know, he's pretty convincing. So I just want to make sure. You know.
And the other thing is just what your view happened on the fake punt early.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. That was a sweet play by them. So we had a pretty good idea they were going to fake it, but they did a little revert, you know, double there, and they got us. So.
Hey, you know what, man? That's the right answer, I think, from Andy Reid. That's a pretty sweet little play. It's a pretty sweet play. That's from one offensive mind to another. Andy Reid's a little annoyed he didn't think of that himself. Or that the Chiefs haven't done it, whatever. But he says they knew it was coming. They did, because the defense was out there, which makes it, of course, more embarrassing because instead of having, you know, a quarterback back there, you have a punter back there, and I guess you have your offensive line and all, but still, they knew it was coming, and the Vikings still got it over on them, and I don't know what you can say there other than, I wish one of our dudes would have made a play. Because I'm sure that's what he thought, but it was a nice play. They converted. It was pretty obvious, but it still went that exact direction. That is our Andy Reid press conference. Are we good to go to Mahomes here if we're ready, Dylan? You ready for a little Patrick Mahomes press conference time? I don't know where Covell, shout out to Covell Hudson again, producing the effort behind the scenes. Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass. I am Joshua Brisco. We'll do this. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and hear from Patrick Mahomes. Maybe also L'Jarius Sneed next segment. And we still need to hear from Matt Derrick. We'll chat with our friend from Chiefs Digest at some point throughout the show as well. It's the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. I'm Joshua Brisco for Dylan Michaels and Covell Hudson. More show next.
as Kelsey kind of looks like he snuck onto the field up at the top. He didn't. He was waiting for it. Mahomes is looking down the right side instead. Back to Travis. He's got him on the slant down to the 3-yard line. First and goal to go for the Chiefs.
No offense to Jim Nantz. That call didn't do it justice. A truly remarkable thing. I was like sorting some things out. That was the right call, right? That was like the thing that was exciting, like blew my mind. All right, cool. I'm not doubting you, Dylan. I'm just like genuinely, like I was trying to text Matt Derrick and I'm getting everything lined up here. That play was sweet. Our sweet play of the game, some could say. Brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Introducing Cannoli Thunder Concrete at Andy's Frozen Custard. This Italian stallion of flavors is made with the freshest vanilla frozen custard, crispy cannoli shells, sweet cream filling, and chocolate chips. Go to eatandys.com for the location near you. I'm going to get out of here in time tonight. I might see if I can find an Andy's location nearest to me. That sounds amazing. As it was also, again, remarkable the things that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce do on a weekly basis by being on the same page 24/7. But that play in particular, just outrageous to me. That whatever the design of that play was, the execution was something better than they could have drawn it up. As it didn't work, he sneaks onto the play, kind of not actually sneaks, but kind of up there, like kind of out of the way. Shows a really obvious, throw me a screen. But I don't think the defense was really playing it that way, so that Mahomes is looking for another option. Eventually, the play breaks down. Kelce takes off. Who else? Who else but 15 and 87? It's really, really, really remarkable. I hope everybody enjoys that fact as we roll on enjoying Chiefs football, because a little bit of mortality flashed before our eyes today, and I'll take any reminder we can get to appreciate how bleeping unreal Travis Kelce is. Also, Patrick Mahomes not too bad in his own right. We'll have some more time, hopefully, to appreciate him for many, 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 many more years to come as well. But we'll hear from him right now. The quarterback's press conference is brought to you by Kansas City Acura dealers. As our hometown team in red marches toward another epic year, visit your Kansas City area Acura dealers to score jaw-dropping deals or new and pre-owned Acura models. On new and pre-owned Acura models. You have to choose. Take a look at both of them. New, pre-owned. As long as they're coming from your Kansas City Acura dealers. Plus, you can get overpaid for your trade. Shop your Kansas City area Acura dealer. Appreciate the Kansas City area Acura dealers for being a part of all of this. Appreciate Patrick Mahomes for being the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Starts here by being asked what was going on in his head. What was he thinking as Travis Kelce was hurt?
Yeah, it was a little weird because it happened right before half. And so we obviously had that 2-minute drive. And then you get back to the locker room. They're looking at it and stuff like that. But I knew, obviously all of it hurts, but if Travis is out of the game, it hurts. But I knew he was trying to get back in. And I feel like Travis has the same mindset as I do. You give him the window of, like, he can get back in the game, he's going to be back in the game. And so competitor, man. That's why he's one of the greatest, is that he'll battle through stuff like that and came back and made a lot of great catches for us.
Speaking of which, that 3rd and 7 pass, I'm still not really sure how he caught it, but you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. What was your view of that? How did that?
Yeah, no, it was the DB played good coverage. It was man coverage. He played outside leverage. We were trying to run an out route type thing. And I stepped up in the pocket, and I was just give him a chance, just put it up to the big guy. And he made a tough catch. He held on to it into the ground. And once you're on the ground, you just got to get touched if you have possession. And so it was a big-time catch and a big moment in the game, and we obviously were able to go down and score after that. Yeah, we had we really try to do our best against this defense to have answers versus their cover zero package and their blitz package, and it's hard to prepare for. I mean, I'm be honest, it'd be like preparing for Spags. It's like, man, this is tough. And so they do a lot of good things. They have a lot of good schemes, and so that was the option versus cover zero. Obviously, we didn't want it to be that far backed up, and so the guy that was guarding, I think it was Marquez, fell off, and I didn't necessarily see it, but I put it up there for J. Watt to make a play, and he made a play for me. And so that was a big drive. That started that drive and got us going on the out of the half, and we were backed up, and that really could change the game.
Something wild that is becoming more clear as the show goes on tonight. There were a lot of huge plays in this game. Not even just like chunk plays, but just incredible performances, momentum swingers, both sides of the ball. Just a really high-octane, weird football game. How else would you have your Chiefs football if not exactly that way? Next up here, a lot about Travis Kelce, but also a lot about the young receivers, Rashee Rice, his development, how the young receiving core is coming together.
Yeah, no, that's stuff that we've been trying to just keep those young guys learning. Learning versus coverage, not always going to be perfect. And I thought he did a great job. And it was right after, I think, the one that went over the top that we didn't work on that one, and he saw it, made adjustment, and made the play on the next one. And so that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of guys that, as they get reps, learning from, I don't want to say mistakes, but learning from the miscues or whatever you want to call it, and then executing the next play. And they got to know that I'm going to keep firing it to them. I mean, that's just my mentality, is I'm going to keep throwing the ball to them. And I think you saw a lot of young guys step up and make plays today. I don't like to talk to Travis when he's hurting because he's a mean guy. So I did not talk to him at halftime. But I kind of just peeked in there and looked at Rick and just asked how he feeling. He said he's going to try to see if he can go.
So at what point were you aware he was coming back in the game? When he came back in the game?
Yeah, I saw him actually on the sideline on that first drive. It was kind of the role reversal. It was like me in the playoffs. I was just standing there on the sideline trying to get back in. So, no, but I thought the other guys stepped up. I mean, that was a big drive at the end of that half there for those guys to step up, make plays. Noah always does a great job when he gets those opportunities. And then we were able to kind of mess with the personnel a little bit and kind of have something going until he could get back in the game. Yeah, I mean, we have guys that where it might have been maybe a 3 tight end set, we throw a receiver in there and stuff like that. And we have guys that are able to learn, that know the offense and can go out there and do that. So we prepare for that stuff. You can't always prepare for everything, but we try to prepare if someone goes down or if something happens, how we can still run our plays. And Coach Reid and the coaching staff does a great job of that.
Some interesting stuff there, both about the entire Travis Kelce sequence and him, figuring out how that was going in real time, but also trying to keep those young guys learning. How much did we talk about that just in the last couple segments of this show? Huge part of where this offense can head from here. Hugely, hugely important. He knows that too. Last big chunk of audio here from Patrick Mahomes, asked about more of the young receivers, starting off, of course, with Justin Ross.
Yeah, no, I think he played well. I mean, everybody knows he has the talent. And so he made that big-time catch in that second. I think it was 18 or something like that. And some of those other plays, I mean, he has the talent. We're going to keep bringing him on, and we're going to keep moving him around in different positions. But I mean, there's a lot of young guys out there, and we're going to keep everybody moving and going in the right direction. And I think by the end of the year, we're going to be dangerous because you're not going to know who's going to get those opportunities throughout the game. Yeah, I mean, he's picked up what we've given him. I think we're just trying to find ways to integrate him in the offense. I mean, like I said, we have a lot of guys, but we see his talent. I mean, we see what he can do and how the plays that he can make. And so we're trying to do whatever we can to put him in those positions to go out there and make those plays. And as he gets more and more comfortable, just like any other rookie in a sense, we'll keep giving him more and more chances to go out there and make plays. Yeah. Yeah, we try to go off kind of a little pump screen and slip Tony down the sideline, and I pumped and the corner fell off, and I stepped up in the pocket, and Travis is supposed to be on the sideline, and luckily he was running across the field. I have those moments where I'm like, I'm about to get crushed, and then I look over and 87 is just running free. So he's been with me a long time and knows how to get himself open whenever he gets an opportunity. Yeah, no, it's special. And honestly, I remember when we played at Arrowhead a few years back and the Vikings fans traveled well. And I remember to me, I was like, man, I hope we have that same thing. And I think that just speaks to the Chiefs Kingdom is they came out here and you could see the red in the stadium from the get-go. You could hear the Chiefs at the end of the national anthem. And they traveled well and they support us, man. And I'm glad to have that fan base backing me every time, no matter where I'm at and where I'm playing.
There you have it, Patrick Mahomes here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. I think the most interesting stuff there, a little bit of insight onto that wild third down conversion where Kelce's supposed to be on the sideline and works his way across the field instead. And some more there on Ross and the young receivers. The idea that this offense will be dangerous by the end of the year. Again, another little signpost. This is a long process for the Chiefs pass catchers, and that today was a good step in that direction. I can live with that. In fact, I'm kind of excited by that. So I'm going to see the Chiefs being committed to it, and today, either by choice or by necessity, they were. It's a fun day of football and a fun night to be with you here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. We'll take a break. We'll come back here from L'Jarius Sneed, and shortly we'll chat with our friend Matt Derrick. I feel real good about our ability to sort through all the stuff from this game and to bring you a whole bunch of a huge NFC showdown. The Niners and Cowboys. San Francisco right now late in the first quarter, up by a touchdown, but about to punt from midfield or so. It's kind of a no man's land punt, but it's going to be like 4th and 20, so I think they probably will. But that game is going to be an absolute barn burner. We'll bring you the whole second half of it here on 810 as well. Next up, though, the timeout. Sneed, Matt Derrick, what else could you ask for?
And everything is almost like exactly how you'd want it to be. Except for blocking.
Except for blocking. We've got to build and construct that next. As Chris Jones has now 4.5 sacks and entered the season late after a contract holdout. Look at this force right here.
I mean, I thought it was a screen initially. I'm not kidding. Very few times do I sit up and be like, oh, we got to throw the screen in the dirt. And then I'm like, no, that was actually a pass play. And Ezra Cleveland has no chance of stopping Chris Jones one-on-one. Wow.
Fabulous analysis there from one Tony Romo. That is a heck of a play by Chris Jones, a heck of a player, and a heck of a defensive play. It's our defensive play of the game, brought to you by Schlegel Fence. Told you about defense. What about Schlegel Fence? Schlegel Fence, as Kansas City's preferred fence company, has been serving the KC metro areas for over a decade, offering security and style. Call 816-863-6159 or go to schlegelfence.com for your free estimate. A part of that defense is L'Jarius Sneed. Heard Andy Reid talk about him a little bit earlier on because he had a very tall task of following around Justin Jefferson, not every single snap, because sometimes Jefferson ends up in the slot, and that's where Trent McDuffie currently sets up shop when there's a slot receiver on the field. And so McDuffie or Sneed, I think, may have actually been on Jefferson. Well, probably not every rep, because they put him in the backfield that one time, presumably to try to get him away from Trent McDuffie or L'Jarius Sneed. So however the Vikings were trying to move him around, Sneed certainly had a whole lot of Justin Jefferson to deal with. Let's hear from the Chiefs corner on the big game that he had.
I'm curious, what did the referee tell you about that fourth down play where they initially threw the flag and then said there was no penalty?
They didn't tell me anything. They got together and told me to move back, put my helmet back on.
Can you take us through that play, just regarding on that 4th 11 play?
Yeah, I knew it was fourth down, and I knew they had to go to the end zone. So I played off at the sticks and, get my head back.
Let me official return. You put your helmet back on. Can you take us through when they did throw the flag and emotions there? And did you know you couldn't take it off? All this?
Yes, sir. I knew I couldn't take it off. It just, I was caught up in the moment, and I just told them that I'll put it back on. He told me to put it back on. I put it back on.
Jersey and the assignment, and Coach Reid talked about going up against Jefferson, and just the assignment that you had and preparing for something like that, going up against one of the top receivers in the league.
I've been preparing all week. Coach been installing in me what to do and what not to do. I just come to work and do my work.
Are those kind of some of the assignments that you kind of look forward to, getting those types of matchups?
Yeah, it's very challenging. I love it. Challenges. I love to face them. I love to just go out there and work.
How do you feel about the overall defensive?
I know we got a lot of work to do. We're still progressing, still trying to come together. We're piecing it together.
A lot of work to do.
As in technique, what to do, situations, and all of that.
Jerry, do you agree that it shouldn't have been a flag on 4th and 11?
Repeat.
Do you agree they should pick up that flag on 4th and 11?
Of course, because I got my head back.
In a drive where you guys, I think it was like 4 penalties on the defense, and Minnesota was able to get a field goal. Is that kind of like, I don't know, how you look at that and being able to salvage something?
As a defense, that's careless mistakes. We got to stop the penalties. We home on that. Coach is home on that as well. Eliminate the penalties.
What do you think of Travis today?
A dog. He's out there one leg, man.
Good. All right, great.
Thank you.
Listen, L'Jarius Sneed doesn't talk a whole lot. He doesn't give you real long answers. But I don't know how you could not like L'Jarius Sneed. It's a bunch of good, do my job, here's my answers. And some of it's real, actually, do you agree with him picking up that flag? Yeah, of course. I got my head around. Which is a great point that I didn't mention, talking about why that wasn't a flag and why that deep shot to MVS, it was MVS on the deep shot, right? They ended up getting penalized. That was a flag because Smith never, look, again, I personally kind of hate the quarterback deep shot that's underthrown where the defender comes back to the ball, or the receiver comes back to the ball and the defender is caught between an underthrown ball and a receiver who he's covered well. I don't like those penalties because it feels kind of like rewarding a quarterback for a bad throw. But the way the rule is, you gotta play the football. Getting your head around, getting a corner of your eye in a place where it could feasibly be looking at something that resembles a football. And I'm good. I'd rather just see that not get called if it's really on the quarterback, not on the defender for why it was broken up. It just wasn't even a question on either of those plays, the one that got called deep against the Vikings and the one that didn't get called there against Sneed. I just think that's right. And Travis Kelce, what do you think about him? Dog. Playing on one leg. Dog. It's just fabulous. Good stuff also, again, just kind of the sequence with the referees and very matter of fact, again, from Sneed, but that's what I was looking for. Hey, what was that sequence actually like? They didn't say anything about the actual pass interference call, non-call. Told him to get back and put his helmet back on. He put his helmet back on. Did you know? Yeah, I knew. I was heat of the moment. So I just did what they said, which also, again, I know that this is a crazy topic in Kansas City because we talked to Kendall Gammon even about the Chiefs-Browns game that will live in infamy that was extended because of a helmet removal celebration type of play. Referees in general, if you can take a de-escalation path that isn't just immediately throwing a flag, I think that's generally a good thing to do. Snead broke the rule. And if he would have gotten flagged for it, it would have been the Chiefs' ball moved back. It would have still been 1st and 10. It would have been the Chiefs' ball, but field position would have been worse. And I hear it. Letter of the law, they probably should have called that. Letter of the law, they should have called that. I personally, there are times when players are taking their helmet off as they cross the barrier to get out of the field of play or whatever. I don't want those getting called either. I would hear you if you wanted to be a Vikings fan specifically upset about that non-call, because again, it's just a thing you can't do. But also, if refs were being cool about anything ever, that would be a way to do it. That would be a time to do it. Not really defending it. He's not defending it. Heat of the moment and all of that. But altogether, from L'Jarius Sneed, that is our locker room report. Hearing from an incredible game from him certainly deserves a chance to hit the showers and head back to Kansas City. Our locker room report brought to you by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
One more thing before we take a timeout and then come back to hear from Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. The way this game went, there are several people who I could give a little extra accolade to. I get to do that once per postgame show. And man, it totally could be L'Jarius Sneed. It could be Patrick Mahomes. It could be Isaiah Pacheco. It could be Justin Watson. It could be Rashee Rice. It could be Justin Ross. It could be Kadarius Toney. It could be Drew Tranquill. It could be Justin Reid. There are a lot of players who it could be, but there's only one right answer. I get to give them the green light, presented by Green Light Dispensary. Green Light Dispensary, outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. Open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Find a location near you today at greenlightdispensary.com. The green light today goes to number 87 in red. Because I said at the beginning of the show, said it during the show, I guess today, 87 in white. I was doing a green and red thing, but full white uniforms on the road today. Kind of fun. The performance that Travis Kelce put up today is truly remarkable. For at least a moment, you have that flash of, I don't know how bad it is, but what if it's terrible? What if it's over? What if it's the worst case scenario? Man, I would have been happy to see Travis Kelce back on the sidelines in street clothes with no brace or cast or anything, just smiling, stroking his mustache. I would have taken that immediately. I would have taken that deal. Instead, he came back and took over the game. He gets the green light. He's the greatest tight end of all time. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's having the biggest moment of his life off the field, has now transcended SNL and the Super Bowl and his family being the center of it. Hell of a time to be Travis Kelce. I'm just glad he's still playing football. Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest next.
make it to him going up top. Got a completion to Oliver, who's considered a blocking tight end, but he fumbles the ball and the script continues. They have been a disaster in the first quarter this year, coughing up and turning over the football, and it starts today on the very first play of the game, recovered by Brian Cook.
Wow.
The first play of the game was an ugly play for the Minnesota Vikings, but a beautiful one for the Kansas City Chiefs. The ugly play of the game brought to you by We Buy Ugly Houses. Owning a house can be a problem, an ugly problem. Repairs, taxes, mowing the yard. Let We Buy Ugly Houses be the solution. Call 1-800-44-BUYER or go to WeBuyUglyHouses.com. Really, a bizarre way for that game to begin. Something I, in no way, shape, or form could have predicted. And then also, something that I couldn't have predicted that we would have barely referenced on the show. I've complained already that goldfish brains and short memories are not very good for taking into account everything that happens over the course of a game, including things like late calls by referees. But even my goldfish brain there got a hold of it, because that was a huge play for the Chiefs to get this game rolling, and a defense that forced a turnover on the first play of the game, was bothering Kirk Cousins and successfully bringing him to the ground pretty much all night. Overall, a very weird, very fun performance as the Chiefs win this one against the Vikings 27-20. We'll digest it all with our friend Matt, Derrick from Chiefs Digest. It was a pun the whole time through. He's brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com. Matt, I don't know if anybody on the Chiefs offense needed a little extra helping hand, needed an extra lending of some services, because when Travis Kelce went out, I thought it was going to be one of those games and maybe one of those few weeks. What were you thinking as you saw Travis Kelce go to the turf?
Yeah, the moment he went down, I mean, that split second, there had to be nothing but nightmare scenarios going through your mind, because a 34-year-old guy going down non-contact on that turf in that situation, I mean, the worst nightmares are going through your mind. I mean, Achilles, I mean, anything. That was the first thought. It was just the way he crumpled up and everything like that. It was like, boy, nobody near him and slipping down. It was nightmare scenarios. But then once he got up and started, was able to jog off on his own. I mean, even though he was limping, it was like, okay, that's nothing too serious. I mean, let's see what happens. Let's not, put the cart before the horse. It's clearly not an Achilles. I mean, there's a lot of things that it's not by the way he's moving. But you never know. I mean, you certainly thought there was a possibility that the Chiefs had to play the second half without Travis Kelce. Yeah. And if they played the second half of this game without Travis Kelce, I'm not entirely sure they win. But he comes back, puts on his cape, comes back out, Chiefs win. That's how it works.
It's just how it works. I fully expected to not see him play again. I said just a second ago, if he would have come out in the second half in street clothes, smiling, with no apparent braces or casts or anything, or crutches or whatever, just Travis Kelce standing on the sideline in street clothes like he would for a preseason game, I would have taken that 100 times out of 100. Even after seeing him work on the sidelines before halftime, I was shocked when I saw him in shoulder pads.
That's the one scenario I can't even imagine, because for Travis Kelce to come out of a game and of which he can walk is not a scenario that I think enters his mind. I mean, the only way that Travis Kelce has ever come out of a game, to my knowledge, because he needed either microfracture knee surgery or he had a concussion. I mean, that's the only two times I remember Travis Kelce ever coming out of a game. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, there was just absolutely no doubt that dude was, if he could walk, he was going to come out and try and play again. I mean, there was no doubt. To me, I mean, now there was a doubt about whether he could walk.
Sure,
so,
right, right.
But that is. I mean, I'll give it up to him. I mean, that is one of the toughest dudes around, and the fact that he has played so many games for this team hurt over the years. I mean, you're not in year 11 playing as many games as he has played without playing hurt so many times. And this is just, the latest example. I mean, he was not 100% entering this game. Right. He entered it obviously less than he was. I don't know where he's at right now, But I also know that they are absolutely going to have to pry that uniform off of him Thursday night if they don't want him to play against the Broncos.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, and the timing of it is kind of fun because fun's a bad word. Time of it's kind of interesting because you were talking a little bit in here on Friday, and then we heard you ask Andy Reid and Travis Kelce on Friday about kind of this idea of like, are things getting a little bit tougher for you on that day-to-day basis? And Andy Reid kind of shoot it away because he doesn't want to say that Travis Kelce's getting old, whatever. I was glad you asked Kelce about it because he gave you a little more to my memory of like, there's some stuff that's a little bit tougher. But then tonight, not even because like that foot thing wouldn't have happened in his early 20s. It may have, it may not have. I have no idea. But for him to be back out there and continuing to be the engine of this offense, I mean, Patrick Mahomes notwithstanding, is just remarkable, Matt. It's absolutely, because you were asking good questions about him being in his mid-30s, and then he had an injury that looked like it could have been season-ending, and then he was back for the second half.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of tying a couple of things that Travis has said together because one of the things he said on his podcast was with hyperextending the knee. I mean, he kind of took responsibility for it.
Yeah.
He kind of said that he was a little bit lazy in how he turned, and and that kind of led to hyperextending his knee and putting himself into a bad position. And I don't think that was the cause of that tonight. I mean, I don't think he was being lazy or anything. I think if anything, it was just that he's 34 and tired and on some really crappy turf that's getting replaced after the season, and slipped. I mean, it's going to happen, but I don't think there's any doubt. Just objectively watching Travis for the last few months, going back to training camp, I mean, I think you can tell it's been harder for him. He gets up a little slower at the end of plays. He moves a little bit slower in between plays. Now, he still has that Willie Roaf gene where he just, as soon as the whistle blows, it's like he's 26 again. But I don't know how he does that. But and he kind of conceded on Friday. Yeah, it's a little harder. It's a little bit different. He's got to do things a little bit differently. But I think even what he said on the podcast, was an acknowledgement that, hey, sometimes you're going to get hurt if you don't do things the right way. If you're not training the right way and you're not playing the right way. And it gets harder to do that at his age. Fatigue and everything sets in. I mean, there's just absolutely no doubt. So did that affect him today? No, I don't think that's the issue. But, I mean, if you're talking about just things being harder and more difficult to bounce back from injuries and things that used to hurt not hurting you as much, that's just – we all know that. I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. Things get worse the older you get.
I just think it's fascinating because every step of his career has been fascinating, and there's an argument that these last couple of years and maybe these next couple might be some of the most interesting. I just am tickled by it. But I was also excited that there are other younger pass catchers who really did step up today, and some guys got more opportunities and did some, but not the most with them. I'm interested. I don't even want to send you a specific pass catcher's direction. If I give you the entire group of wide receivers in particular, who stands out as the story for you today?
I mean, you could have gone a lot of different directions, and and part of it is because once again, this was an effort by committee. I mean, Travis was the leading guy with 10 catches for 67 yards, but then everybody else contributed a little bit. And to me, this was a weird game because the Chiefs went into this, understanding that, hey, the Vikings were certainly going to blitz a little bit. I mean, they didn't blitz them as much as maybe the Chiefs expected or as much as they have some other teams. But the Vikings have a good pass rush, and so they knew that they were going to get after them. So the game plan was designed to get the ball, rid of very, very quickly. So most of the passes tonight were pretty much going to guys that they were the primary read. There wasn't a lot of Mahomes, scanning the field and finding his second or third or fourth target. I mean, most of the time he was going to who his number one target was. I mean, even like on the throw to Watson, in the post-game press conference, Mahomes was talking about how, he really didn't have an option to go to Marquez, so he knows that the zero blitz, the ball's going to Justin Watson. That's pretty much how it was. I mean, I just going through guesstimating, I think you could say easily that probably of the 41, Mahomes pass attempts, 30 of them at least probably went to the primary receiver. So you can tell there were some packages and plays designed for Justin Ross. There were for Rashee Rice. There were for Kadarius Toney. didn't really look like there were a lot for Sky Moore.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't necessarily look like there were a lot designed for Marquez. You know, maybe there were one or two here and there, but, you know, they were really trying to get some of these young guys going, and especially Tony. He looked like, at least in the first half, it looked like he was fully back to healthy again. I don't know if he tweaked something during the game, but, you know, we saw him on the sidelines kind of stretching something out a little bit. But they certainly wanted to get Rice and Watson a little bit more involved, and they did.
Do you your Sky Moore and MVS mention are interesting, and like I've been like loosely planning on talking about MVS briefly here for a while and haven't gotten to it yet, so maybe I'll run it by you. To this point this year, not including today's game, through 4 games, it was 6 catches on 9 targets for 104 yards, no touchdowns, but he did have a long bomb touchdown called back that was, you know, an illegal formation and frustrating. And then today it was like 1 for 12. I have spent a decent amount of time being what I've considered a little bit of an MVS defender, not just because of his performance in the Bengals game, but also because like there is more a receiver can do to impact a defense and his fellow pass catchers than to just be the guy who catches the football. But I'm not completely sure what the Chiefs think what else that might be for MVS, because he's just been he's honestly been kind of an afterthought. I say that coinciding with Sky Moore. He got one of those early touches that was like, all right, here's a design Sky Moore touch, and he ended the game with 2 catches for 11 yards. I know where I'm headed on these guys, for not all negative, to be clear. Like I think there's hope for Sky Moore, and I'm confused about MVS, but I'm really not sure how the Chiefs view them right now.
Yeah, and it's a good question, because I think you certainly at this point, for both those guys, I mean, you would say that they're underperforming expectations. I mean, if only for Marquez, because he just seems like a fairly, you know, machine-like player the last few years, and that he's going to get you your, you know, close to 700 yards every season. And right now he's not on track for that. But like you said, I mean, he had obviously a huge touchdown taken away by penalty. He is absolutely, in the last 2 games, picked up 2 huge pass interference flags.
Yeah.
That, you know, hey, had he not been interfered with and held, maybe he makes those catches and, you know, we'll put him on his resume. We feel a little bit better. But if you give him credit for, you know, drawing the flag,
yep.
I mean, Chiefs certainly are giving him credit for that. So he probably raises a little bit in their recognition right there. But I think these are both players that the Chiefs, you know, obviously consider starters. I mean, they consider these guys 2 of their best 3 receivers. And, you know, and are they playing with like that right now? I mean, it's hard to make that case with either him, you know, Marquez, or with Sky. And it's a small sample size. We're only 5 games in. There's still a lot to play. And Sky Moore, certainly the cake is not baked yet. He's still a young receiver. I mean, Marquez, I do think he is what he is. He's what the back of his football card says that he is, which is a, you know, 650-yard receiver and a bunch of catches and a couple of touchdowns and a few nice plays of the year and a couple of maddening drops. And, you know, that's perfectly, you know, fine for certain things. But, you know, are either one of them at this point showing you the potential to be the number 1 option in this offense? You would say no. So what are they, and kind of what is their future? That's a good question, and I'm not sure I have a good answer right now.
Well, hey, we have the rest of the season to figure it out. So let's talk about the defense some, because I like talking about the receivers, but also I don't know how much each of these games has moved the conversation. But good things for the guys you mentioned is certainly wonderful to have. That'll get me through to at least Thursday. We don't have to wait as long, short week and all. But defensively, let's start with L'Jarius Sneed. I imagine you heard his post-game presser, and look, he is not a guy who talks for very long, but I thought he actually had some really interesting things, and just sort of the truth as viewed by L'Jarius Sneed, which is all I'd ask for at a presser. He follows Justin Jefferson for a huge part of the game. Sometimes they put him in the slot, which meant McDuffie. He was in the backfield for 1 snap. I don't know if that did successfully get him away from Sneed or not, but what did you make of his performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was a great performance. I mean, when Andy Reid singles out a defensive guy, you know, who doesn't cause a turnover or something, it means that guy has really popped somehow. Yeah. And so, you know, when you got Andy Reid, you know, extolling your virtues unprompted, that speaks volumes, especially for a defensive player. So, no, and what he held Justin Jefferson to in the first half was impressive. And when the Vikings start moving Justin Jefferson all over the field, trying to get him away from L'Jarius Sneed, that speaks volumes too. I mean, they were trying to find him some other matchups and get him away from that, and the Chiefs were not letting him. So, like you said, I mean, he was either going to be on Snead or McDuffie, it seemed like, most of the night, and both those guys did a really nice job on him. The entire secondary really performed well. I mean, Mike Edwards obviously had a couple of nice plays. Jalen Watson had, stepped up and had a nice play. Once again, I mean, McDuffie, I was going to throw in there too. Justin Reid with obviously the turnover to start the whole thing off. I mean, you could really say that, everybody, it seems like in the secondary, had a nice game tonight.
Can we extend that to the linebackers also? There was at no moment did I think, oh man, they got to slow down Alexander Madison. And not just because of my running back takes, but I never felt like the Vikings running game was about to really, really pop. And you got some Leo Chanel off the edge action. It seemed like Drew Tranquill was everywhere. And Hawkinson had an okay night. I mean, there was the tight ends did a little bit of damage at times, but never because I felt like it was just a linebacker being overmatched. I feel like that was just some sort of zone defense spots for the most part. I haven't reviewed the film or whatever, but I'm leaving the defensive line out because I want to ask you about that specifically. Are you on the same page with the linebackers though, being more in that secondary class of nothing to complain about?
Yeah, we really are, because I thought they covered well. Even Willie Gay, I had a couple of good moments in coverage. Tranquill again leads the team in tackles, and once again, I mean, was in the picture on a few of those incompletions to Hawkinson, where at least made it difficult for Cousins to get him the ball. I don't know if the coverage was entirely the reason why Cousins seemed to be throwing the ball high tonight, but it certainly didn't hurt. I mean, there seemed to be at least somebody in the picture every single time. It wasn't like wide open receivers. And, and what they held Hawkinson to 5 catches, 51 yards.
Yep.
That's really good too. And he was either probably on a linebacker or safety most of the games. Those guys did well.
So where do you find yourself on the pass rush non-blitz department? When they're just trying to get home with 4, it wasn't all bad or all good. I don't think this is a lead story of one part where the defense fell apart or anything, but genuinely, how do you view that unit right now with Charles Omenihu's return ever closer at this point?
A work in progress. Yeah. I mean, I guess is that the way I would say it. I mean, it hasn't been terrible. I mean, the Chiefs have 18 sacks I think so far through 5 games, which would put them on a pace for 44 sacks in the season. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not as good as they were last year. But then again, also a big part of that is that Chris Jones has 4.5 sacks in 4 games, so he has been a good chunk of the pass rush. And you're right. I mean, after that, you got a lot of guys. I mean, I think Karlaftis has multiple sacks. Dana, I think, has maybe 2. But after he always got 3.5. But then you got a lot of it owning up to getting some pressure from blitzes, and I mean that's how the Chiefs were always going to get pressure under Steve Spagnuolo. So there's kind of an acceptance there, and maybe things will change a little bit when they get a Omenihu back. I mean, right now, I do love their third down package. They seem to really do a good job on third down, especially when Chris Jones kicks outside. I mean, he's just been a terror out there, and having Mike Dana kind of kicking inside in those split situations seems like a good spot for him in those packages. So, I mean, I know they want to get Omenihu into that third down package too, but I really like what they're putting out there right now. But outside of Chris Jones, it's intermittent what they're able to get done with the other guys, and even with Chris, I mean, most of the time that he's getting something done, it's because the offense has made a mistake. They've put him in single coverage. They're not bringing the second guy, and as soon as he just sees that, he absolutely eats it alive.
Intermittent, but a work in progress, I think, is both fair and accurate enough that I'm not panicking. And again, Omenihu will be nice to have in the mix, but I'm not panicking, but I'm not thrilled with what I like. I don't know, man. I like to see Karlaftis take a little extra gear step. He's close a lot, but then it's like, oh well, it'd be nice if he could bend around that corner a little bit, and that's kind of the scouting report. I think today he let Cousins kind of escape out off his edge a little bit once. It was sort of frustrating, but I remain an optimist on him and Felix and their development. But I'd like to see more. I think we might see more with Omenihu. That's exciting as well. Before we let you go, Matt, anything else that I haven't mentioned yet that's just been burning a hole in your notebook? A hot take of all hot takes, or a spot you want to look at this game through?
I'll probably circle back just a little bit back to the edge discussion, because one thing I think that has been affecting that group has been that they've been playing a short bench. I mean, it has basically been Dana and Karlaftis playing a lot of snaps, and Felix coming in specific packages and a little bit on third down. But Menahue was going to be a big part because, I think he's going to be able to knock off 15, 20 snaps a game from both Dana and Karlaftis. And if you're able to deepen that rotation and just keep those guys fresher later into the game, I think that will be huge. And I think they need to do the same thing for Jones, too. His snap count has been ramping up a little bit here after they kind of babied him, I thought, the first couple of games. But, they need that interior rotation to be a little bit deeper. Avoid some injuries, I think they would be okay. I think you hit everything, Josh. Although I will say, just because it is on my brand here, this was a perfect example of Patrick Mahomes just eating his vegetables. Because that was a 31 of 41 for 281 is not like a standard Patrick Mahomes stat line.
Yep.
He took his shots downfield judiciously, and they were productive either through the Justin Watson catches or a couple of flags. But this was really a game where Mahomes just took what the Vikings were giving him, and it worked out really, really well. So, kudos to him. I give him credit. that's what I say is the one kind of knock against Mahomes is that, he can sometimes just not take the easy road that's given to him. And the Vikings today, this afternoon, I'm like Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, though I don't know what time it is. They challenged him. Basically, we're saying, hey, Patrick Mahomes, we're going to let you kill us with 1,000 paper cuts. And he did that.
Since we don't know what time it is or what day it is, tell me this, because we will not talk to you until after Chiefs-Broncos, so we'll talk to you on The Zone on Friday after that. This week's going to be wild. Do the Chiefs... I don't need a score prediction. It's Sunday night. Do the Chiefs make it a laugher, or is that game closer than it feels like it should be?
It is Thursday night, so I normally have to throw all rules out for Thursday night. But this Broncos team is just a debacle. It is a dumpster fire in progress. So I'm going to assume that the Chiefs are going to just absolutely roll. But, when you see AFC West games in which one team should win by 20, it seems like it comes down to the end.
Yep.
So, but I'm more intrigued. I thought you were going to ask. I could have sworn I thought you were going to ask about the Fat Bear Week semifinals tomorrow.
Of course, I should have asked about Fat. I just closed the browser earlier. I still have to give Renee my scouting report.
We'll see. I think Chunk has got to have the easy win over 901. I get she's a sentimental favorite with the Cubs and all, but oh my gosh, that Grazer versus Holly.
It's unbelievable, Matt.
That's a final right there. Either one of those two is absolutely Fat Bear worthy. I don't know. That's a coin flip to me. I will probably choose Holly, but man, Grazer is. Both those Bears are a load this year.
This is a Super Bowl right now. It's really hard to make the word bear fit into the phrase Super Bowl. You'd think you'd think it'd be easy because it's all kind of right there. It's really tough, Matt. People don't tell you about that.
It's really easy to fit the word owl into Super Bowl.
It is. But I'm upset because it's not Fat Owl Week. Then, do you in the Grazer Holly matchup are you formally saying here that you think the winner of this match is going to be or should be the reigning Fat Bear champion, or do you think Chunk ends up, like you said, if Chunk ends up winning over 901? I'm not thrilled with how the left side of the bracket panned out for reasons we've discussed in private. Some of Chunk's off the field concerns are a little bit hard for me to look past personally.
Yeah, there's some issues off the field with Chunk, but and based on the photos, I will say this. I do think that sometimes it's just like the NFL and Taylor Swift. I think the powers that be put their finger on the scale every once in a while because based on the photos that are chosen. Chunk does not look as chunky as he actually is because I understand that the park rangers up there. Chunk is the consensus pick of the park rangers because they say he is the biggest bear in Alaska this year.
Wow!
But
he's massive, dude. It's crazy. The pictures of Chunk, just the belly is honestly cartoonish.
Yeah, and the pictures, they don't really do 901 justice to her picture either. So I usually go by that as my kind of indication because most of the rank and file voters that go for this are not the hardcore camera cam watchers that live and die with every single moment. They go by the pictures, and that's why Grazer and Holly could really do it because I think the photos flatter them.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to say Chunk and Holly in the final, and Holly may pull it out, but Chunk probably deserves to win.
Like, again, I mean, sometimes it's got to be about the performance, and man, Chunk is an absolute unit. But all of these fat bears are extremely fat and incredible units. If you would like to play along at home, explore.org, and they have the live cameras on YouTube. You can vote at explore.org/fat-bear-week. So that'll kick off tomorrow. They're the semifinals. Would you like to try to sway the vote? And you would like to vote for 901 and Grazer? Is that where you would personally, just what your rooting interest would lay?
I mean, I like 901's a great story. Chunk deserves it. So
okay, wow, okay, that's really big of you.
I will vote for Chunk. I mean, it's not like but Holly and Grazer, I am just like completely torn on. I mean, that is, I won't be able to decide that until tomorrow when I vote.
Last bear question: Do you
50-50?
Do you know what Nancy's going to do for Holly Grazer?
I don't. I know Nancy will vote 901 all the way.
Right.
So,
if people don't know because they're not in the studio when we talk about it, Nancy is typically just voting for the Lady Bears as she goes, correct?
This year she has been a pro lady, so
good.
Yeah, she's definitely on team Lady Fat Bear. So,
but Grazer and Holly are gonna have to. I don't know, man. Okay, well,
I bet she votes Holly, but I could be surprised.
Okay, I like Holly because 435. We have the highway. It feels like a pseudo local connection where it's like Holly's our local bear in Alaska. It's a stretch, but you got to do what you got to do when you are a fan of a team as a transplant in a different town. If we ever move to Alaska, we can start Fat Bear Pods, and I think it'll be really fantastic.
One of these years, Josh, I am starting Fat Bear Digest, and we'll definitely have a podcast.
I can't wait. We can break down the film. We can do the highlights.
Only weird bears.
Only weird bears. Matt, I look forward to it very much, my friend. Enjoy the very few days you'll have before you have to talk to me again in prime time.
I can't wait, Josh. Take care.
Matt Derrick at ChiefsDigest.com. Brought to you by Cap One Lending. Again, the Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com and go to ChiefsDigest.com. Maybe someday soon. Go to FatBearDigest.com, but right now that's just explore.org, and you can check all that out. Dylan's deep in the bracket. We've got notes. We've got picks. I'm firing up DraftKings next. We'll see. In the meantime, though, we'll take one more timeout. We'll come back. I want to unpack a couple more things on the Chiefs-Vikings side, and then we are approaching halftime now as the San Francisco 49ers have stepped out to a 2-touchdown lead over the Cowboys. Right now it's 21-7, but it's been a couple of big plays, big swings. I think that game is going to come down to the wire. So we'll bring you that on your home for the NFL after we wrap up right here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
goal. Mahomes, wide open. Kelsey comes off the X-ray table and finds the end zone.
I see what you did there. This is two players that are just at a different level.
Truly special, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. A truly special night for Travis Kelce, leaving that game, returning, and being once again the absolute focal point of the offense. A tremendous, tremendous effort from number 87, and a great team win, wire to wire, with the Chiefs beating the Vikings 27-20. Couple things I want to kind of unpack here, and then we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning in the zone, beginning at 10 o'clock here. Of course, the Border Patrol starts at 6. But in this wide receiver room, we'll unpack this even more tomorrow. I already mentioned the MVS stat line and sort of the underwhelming performances from him so far. Matt mentions, of course, hey, some big penalties that count as yards, just not in the box score. One called back because of a penalty from the Chiefs side. I have my questions about what the Chiefs are hoping for him to be. Matt making the interesting note of, Mahomes was going into a lot of his primary reads tonight. Well, this is two sides of this story, two sides of this coin. Not all bad, not all good. I think it's a good thing that Rashee Rice and Justin Ross and Kadarius Toney got targets as primary reads on plays tonight. You want to get them more and more comfortable in the offense, more involved. Certainly the case for Rice and Ross. But when that's not the case, as Matt mentions, when that's not the case for Sky Moore and MVS, it does bring you to ask why, what the plan is for what comes next, and what is this unit going to look like Mahomes said, when it's scary toward the end of the season. What is this team about then? Who does see the lion's share of the targets? And maybe it is scary because everybody has a chance to be involved that way. I'm happy to see there be growth and an admission that there is still work to be done, that there are still steps to be taken here. I'm excited for what the Chiefs receivers can become. Tonight, I think, was a good step in that direction. Also, once again, the Chiefs defense holds a good Vikings offense to just 20 points. That's special. That's something that we'll keep talking about the rest of the week before it becomes Broncos time. Before you know it, Postgame will be back again on Thursday night. Until then, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, Mom.